Hey everybody, it is March 8th. I just wanted to record the show that was from February 4th. It's an awesome show. A guy was a radio captain on a boat. Noticed that when you're going north-south, everybody was fine. When they were going east-west, everybody had problems with each other. Realized that the time zones messed with the melatonin in the body, linked up to everybody's astrological signs, and came up with some interesting theories about life, God, and energy. And he wrote a book called Future Science, which is a book written so that any 12-year-old can understand some of the things in science that are not well explained, because they don't want you to know how it really works. Alright, so let's get this going.
That
Probably should have rewound this.
That we finish up with $1 each.
Alright, just missed that. Here we go.
Could come in any form. I'm just using the figures now to try to help the explanation on its way. Now, once a baby's born, it's a human being. And the human beings, we actually have four bodies, not just a physical body. We have an emotional body, which is the brain. The heart. We have an intellectual body, which is the brain. We have a physical body, which is all of the cells in the body. And we have a spiritual body, which is the soul inside, the battery that we dragged off God just before we were born. Now, these four bodies have different rules, and they exist in different worlds. For example, in the physical world, if I have $1 and you have $1 and we exchange them, we finish up with $1 each. So there's no gain. You don't get something for nothing in the physical world. However, in the intellectual world, the rules are different. If I have one idea and you have one idea and we exchange them, then I finish up with two ideas and you finish up with two ideas. We can double our intellectual wealth at no cost. Now, we can use the same argument but take it one step further. If I love you, then my soul voltage will go up. And if I hate you, my soul voltage goes down. So if I love everybody and everything in the world, then when I die, my voltage might increase, for example, during my lifetime from 5 volts to 50 volts. So much so that the energy in my brain releases a halo of light around my head. And this is why high voltage souls are depicted in ancient pictures with halos around their heads. Then what happens is, when the body dies, when the cells are damaged or sick, the minus voltage from the body can no longer hold on to the positive voltage of God, and the soul is released. And providing the voltage is high enough on the soul, it migrates, it escapes from the Earth's magnetic field and the Earth's gravitational field, and it goes back to God. So God grows by 45 volts. If in the beginning, don't forget, he gave away 5 volts to the baby, but he gets 50 volts back. So God gets bigger, love gets bigger, and the universe expands, and everything is good, and so on. Of course, conversely, if I were to hate you during my lifetime, then my soul voltage would go down. When it leaves my body, it could not leave the Earth's gravitational field or magnetic field, so it would come back not as 5 volts, but maybe as a half a volt, if I've hated lots of people. And it would look for a collection of biological cells which are beginning to develop on Earth, something which is half a volt. It might be a flower, it might be a worm, it might be a dog. But as those cells divide and multiply, they generate a negative voltage, and they're looking for a positive voltage to balance out the charges. So let's say a flower is beginning to grow. The minus half a volt from my body would go to the flower, and the flower would become a living thing again with a body and a soul. The soul is only half a volt. And this is why the Maya believed that this life was illusion, because the flower might look like a flower and feel like a flower and smell like a flower, but it's not a flower, it's God in disguise. Every living thing is God in disguise. Everything has a voltage like a battery which has been ripped off God, except rocks and streams, inanimate objects. They have spirit because they have atomic energy, the electrons going around the atoms, but they don't have the soul. And it's like your computer. If you plug your computer into the socket, the voltage brings your computer alive. If you unplug it, your computer dies. God is electromagnetic energy. God is what drives me. It's what gives me life. Take away my voltage, I die. The voltage makes me move my fingers, my mouth, my eyes. All this voltage is in the back of a Gita. It says that God is inside us, and the body is a playground for God. God, it animates us. That's why we're called animated creatures. And inanimate creatures or inanimate things like rocks and so on, they have no soul, but they have spirit. And if we start to look at how magnetism works and electromagnetism and gravity, it's all very, very simple, because there are three types of atom basically on Earth. The simplest of atom is the hydrogen atom. That simply has one negative charge, an electron, orbiting one positive charge in the middle. It's very, very simple. You can't get much simpler than that. The next most complicated atom is helium, and that has two electrons orbiting two protons, but it also has two neutrons, two neutron charges. Now, all of the other atoms are more complex than helium, and that they come into the third category of atom. So those are the three types of atom. Now, how gravity works is very simple. The electron going around the hydrogen atom spins, and as it spins, it radiates electromagnetic waves. So we get a corkscrew wave, electromagnetic wave, coming off every single hydrogen atom. Now, the universe, 93% of our universe is made of hydrogen atoms, which is most of it. So clearly, all of the hydrogen atoms are pointing in different directions, and there's an awful lot of them. So all of these hydrogen atoms, in water, for example, that's made of hydrogen and oxygen, H2O, two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom, all of the hydrogen atoms in water are sending out corkscrew-style radio waves, electromagnetic waves. And those corkscrew-style waves collide with neighboring atoms, the more complex ones. It could be magnesium, it could be calcium, it could be boron, it could be any of the other 120 elements. Now, none of the other elements spin like hydrogen does, and that's because they have more than one electron. They tumble like tumbleweed in all directions because they have so many electrons moving about in different directions. They don't spin coherently like hydrogen. So under normal conditions, normal complicated atoms don't spin, they tumble. But when a hydrogen atom comes close to a neighboring atom, it causes that atom to spin like a water wheel. And as soon as the neighboring atom, be it calcium, magnesium, or whatever, begins to spin in the same direction as the hydrogen atom, then all of the electrons in that atom start to give off corkscrew energy. And that energy bombards other neighboring atoms in a straight line. So everything bombards everything else, and that's why everything attracts everything else. And because it's corkscrew in nature, it's like an Archimedes screw, a pump. If you put a screw thread into the water and turn it, water will move up the screw thread if it's inside a tube.
That's right, that's right. This is excellent. This is very, very interesting. Our guest tonight, Maurice Cotterell, and we will come back and discuss all things that may even turn into, well, what the martial artists call ki. Maybe. We'll be back on Coast to Coast AM.